What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in and you check out the content. And with that being said, man, basically, man, Shannon Sharpe got caught, in my opinion, telling a lie about the relationship between Michael Jordan and Ahmad Rashad. Right now, I'm not gonna come on here and say that Michael Jordan and Ahmad Rashad had a contentious relationship, right? But if if I remember that Ahmad Rashad worked for, I think it was ESPN, and he did used to interview Michael Jordan, right? But Michael Jordan never really fully trusted him. Like Michael Jordan, because of his experiences throughout his career with and knowing how the media operate, Michael Jordan just more so tolerated Ahmad Rashad, right? And I remember even during those days, I remember Ahmad Rashad trying to pump up, that try to make it seem like he had a close relationship with Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan always kept in mind that Ahmad Rashad worked for the media. And so he never really let his guard down. And if you go back and you look at some of those past interviews where, he did have access to Michael Jordan, from time to time, as far as interviewing him and stuff like that. But Michael Jordan never really was close like that with him. And also, Michael Jordan never really used Ahmad Rashad to put out a certain narrative about him, right? Like what you see these guys on ESPN and putting out narratives about LeBron James. Then you got Nick Wright on whatever network he on, and what's the Brian Windhurst. Like it wasn't the same way with Michael Jordan. Like a lot of people, Mike understood that less was more. So basically, Mike wanted, and he was really good at doing this. Mike wanted to keep it about his play on the court, not that he didn't really have, and that's why he never really gave people a lot of access to him, right? Because Mike, just like any other person or any other professional athlete, Mike had some things that he probably didn't want to share with the public, and so that's why he just made it about what happened on the basketball court. People, they wanted to talk about the gambling, and people probably wanted to talk about his divorce situation, but that unless he had to speak publicly about like the gambling, Mike wasn't going to talk about it. And he never really spoke publicly that I can recall about his divorce from his wife, right? And so that made it, put it in a situation where Mike wasn't the kind of person that was going to feed into that news cycle, and he understood that. So he had to keep Ahmad Rashad at arm's length, even though he tolerated Ahmad Rashad. Rashad was not like part of Mike's inner circle, and so that is why in my opinion, these statements that I'm getting ready to play from Shannon Sharpe is a lie. You know what I mean? It's not. It's a lie and an exaggeration when he talk about players being on the payroll of Michael Jordan or on the payroll of LeBron James. Like those two situations, you can't compare. And so here we go. Let's listen to Shannon Sharpe.
One person, nobody has had a relationship with a player like Ahmad Rashad had with Michael Jordan.
Hello.
Not one person ever said he glazed.
Yeah.
Not one person ever said he was on the payroll. Not one person. Now, if you like a player, you're on the payroll. Tell me what they said in that chat.
I automatically have to.
All right, B. Let me say this, right. And I can go back as far as like Howard Cosell had access to Muhammad Ali, right? And nobody ever ever said that, because, and again, I think about the same way. Muhammad Ali was he didn't trust a lot of people, but he did give the guy Howard Cosell access to him, and they had a pretty friendly relationship, right? But it wasn't like Howard Cosell was trying to put a certain narrative about Muhammad Ali out there. They did their interviews, and Howard Cosell did his job, and Muhammad Ali put out the message that he wanted to put out there, right? But it wasn't like Muhammad Ali was trying to get, trying like what you can't compare Michael Jordan and the way he handled the media to LeBron James. It's just not a comparison. Like I said, with Mike, it was like it was always about basketball. With LeBron James, it's about something that he's saying. He's more polarizing. He put himself in that GOAT conversation. Anytime, and I think when I think about it, it's even more genius coming from Michael Jordan, the way he did it, because the fans and the media may have wanted more as from a personal part but what you got from him on the court was just so amazing that even if you heard something about him gambling or something like that, you was hoping as a fan that I hope it's not a big scandal, and I hope it don't keep Mike from playing, because people wanted to see Mike on the court. Whereas though LeBron James, like I said, he puts himself in these polarizing conversations and these polarizing debates and stuff like that. And we're not even talking about like LeBron James hitting a shot with the clock winding down, or LeBron James getting a steal when his team needs a steal. Those type of situations we're not talking about. Then on top of that, you have so many people out there pushing a narrative for LeBron James, where the main person pushing the narrative for Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. He was pushing that narrative on the court. LeBron James is pushing his narrative in the media. And that's the difference. Mike pushed his narrative so well on the court that 20-something years after he left the court, like his fans are still diehard fans. And the people who played with him are just so diehard that in no way in the world you can tell them that Mike is not the GOAT. That's the narrative that Mike pushed. LeBron James, he don't give his fans or nobody enough ammunition to argue his point for him, except for you can argue in the media, but you can't come up with film or situations. I mean, it's so much footage of Mike hitting big shots, Mike getting big steals, Mike playing tough defense, and that's what everybody go to with Michael Jordan. When you talk about LeBron James, it's polarizing. It's a situation where people want to argue back and forth about, is he the GOAT and all this other stuff where, like they come in with receipts. When you talk about Michael Jordan, it's all about receipts. LeBron James they don't know receipts when it comes to LeBron James.
Interject because there's more coming. This is what he's trying to do. Misrepresent what we are doing. He's saying, now if you like a player, you're a glazer, you're on the payroll. No, you can like a player, but don't lie about him and don't lie about other players to prop him up. That's the difference. Shannon, stop the bullshit. Let's keep going.
Hey, and it's because
so that's a good point. It's a big difference because you have to kind of lie and exaggerate in order to prop LeBron James up. Like the relation, and I just say it again, the relationship between Michael Jordan and Ahmad Rashad. And you talking about name somebody else besides Ahmad Rashad who had access to Michael Jordan on a consistent basis, or name somebody besides Ahmad Rashad, which Ahmad didn't do this, but name somebody who really was like, pumping Mike up as the GOAT, pumping Mike up as the greatest thing to ever live. Like you didn't have people doing that. People was just really just enjoying what Mike did on the court, basically.
How we ingest the information and how we see everything, and today the media is different. It wasn't that much damn. You couldn't only see that on the Ahmad Rashad show, or you know what I mean,
on the Sunday game of the week.
You know what I mean? Now we ingest so much, bro. Like and I feel like media is at an all-time high with a lot of former athletes.
And so they even contradict their own point, right? So the media, like the coverage surrounding basketball players wasn't as it wasn't as vast as it is today. You had so many different platforms, right? So think about the fact that Michael Jordan, less was more. And so Mike wasn't on, he was playing basketball and then he performed the way he did on the court. And so that was just enough for people at that time. That was enough. But now in this day of media, you need you know, it's not just what goes on the court. Then you got to have some type of off the court scandal, or somebody had to say this that's polarizing, or do that, you know, just because there's so much of a demand for content, right? But just because there's a demand for content don't mean that you can lie about the history of the game. Like, people just not going to allow you to do that, especially like a blatant lie like what they're talking about with Mike and, you know, his situation.
You know, giving back.
That's a good thing, Joe.
No, it is. I know it. That's what I'm saying.
So many more, because there's so many more outlets, Joe. There's so many more opportunities for you to get revenue. Back then, there was only one place.
And
all right, so yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, so and a lot of it, like I just said to you, it is about revenue, and right, like and there's an appetite for more information about these basketball players, and that's why these basketball players have to, like, some things that maybe Michael Jordan or Larry Bird or Magic Johnson did in their private life, like, reporters didn't really feel the need to report that. But nowadays, you know, everybody have a camera, and there's, you know, it's just such an appetite for you know, for controversy and news and all this stuff. Like, so it's more of an appetite, which means that you have to be just as much on point, or even more on point now when it comes to your public image and your brand than you was back then. So, you know, but at least in my opinion, Shannon Sharpe should be honest about the situation, which he's not. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.